Welcome to LUX Audience Award channel. LUX Audience Award is presented by the European Parliament every year. It celebrates European cinema and aims to raise awareness about social, political and cultural issues in Europe. I'm Franz Malmsten, I'm an Estonian actor and director, and here today we are celebrating the nomination of LUX Audience Award for Smoke Sauna Sisterhood, directed by Anna Hintsiga. Hey, congratulations.
Thank you so much.
And welcome, nice to meet you in Brüsselis.
Yes,
yeah.
tere.
Tere. We are Estonians, but we haven't never talked inside Estonia. We have always met outside of Estonia somehow.
No, inside Estonia also, but only in interviews.
Yeah, so it's our second chat and it's also an interview.
Yes.
Wow, lovely. First time for me. So, thank you for the film. I really loved it. I had the honor to watch it in cinema with the Estonian audience, and I felt how the audience, when the movie ended, that no one stood up to go away, but what they took it in themselves. It was really, me as a director, this is the thing what I would love to see, and it was really beautiful.
Thank you.
But documentaries often made by lucky chance, and director's job is to make the lucky chance as possible as it gets. How did you prepare for this film?
Yeah, I totally agree with this process, like approach to process is so important. When we talk about films, it's not just like what stories we're into, what themes we're into, but how we make films. And I can really say that the whole process of Smoke Sauna Sisterhood was built on trust and very actually different from many things that was taught to me in film school. For example, this is about vulnerability. Women go there into the smoke sauna, they take their physical clothes off, but they also take their emotional clothes off. And how to hold the space and how to make them feel safe also in the film shooting time. So that actually started from the moment when I approached them. So it started with a sisterhood that I'm also part of, my friends. And I had a rule for myself that I will not persuade anyone. I will not convince anyone. And that's, for example, something that, at least for me, was taught in film school, like, oh, you should seduce, your subject. Yeah, but no, I was like, no, because the whole film is emphasizing on giving space, safe space, for the sisterhood to share their voices. And I didn't want to oppose my voice on them. So I met them, and then I just was very open about the intimacy that I'm looking after. Basically, they all knew it was like, okay, we go to the depths, and I'm like, yeah, we go to the depths. Are you in or not? And only those who were like, yes, I'm in, then we continued. And when I felt that there was hesitation, then for me it was no. I didn't pursue. I didn't start to persuade. That was the one very important part. Then second thing is that usually then production brings legal papers when somebody says yes and you sign them. But in our case, it was like inviting these women to be naked in smoke saunas, body and soul, and signing something already before it's filmed. It didn't make sense to me. It was like about the process where I felt no miracles would happen like that, because, people would be so self-conscious thinking about what they say, or it would not be the real experience. And I cannot take their voices away like this. So this vision was shared by my producer, Marianne Ostrat, and we took huge risk and basically had agreement that only in the post-production, when I already have a cut to show, I will show it to the women separately, and they have the right to say yes or no. And this, everyone who has done film, knows that it's huge risk. I made the film 7 years, and they could have said no, but nobody said no, because the whole process was so, including their voices. So these things were important part of what you asked, like how the miracles could happen, like how we make films. I couldn't imagine doing a film about vulnerability or safe space while being manipulative or being, not safe in the shooting. So as a director, it was a huge responsibility. I knew from the start to make this kind of film. It's not just like that, we do a shooting and then it's bye-bye, but it's to be there for the sisterhood throughout the process till post-production, till distribution. And I can say from that experience that it is possible to make bold, intimate, powerful films with empathy, with including your subjects, or how you call it in English, with whom you make the film with, and kind of like in a form of circle, like this circle here, like, European Union circle, that we don't need to oppose and, our voices, but how to create together with the voices. And the other challenge is that, my background is in photography also. I have a degree in photography, and I'm very aware that wherever you take out camera is never objective. Yep. Camera is always subjective, always has a glance. So for me, the big challenge was that I'm going to film naked female bodies. And even though the nakedness inside smoke sauna is nothing sexual, we are there, everybody has the right to exist there, sweat there, we sweat together, we pee together, we bleed together. But at the same time, in society, naked female bodies are so sexualized. We're so used to seeing female representation in sexual form. So how to make sure that that non-sexual glance comes also to the film? So for that, me and cinematographer Franz Malmsten, we did tests first on my own body in smoke sauna, finding the language, and also finding this language or the visual language where I felt safe. And then I showed it to the women. So that was also part of the process. I showed it to the women and they felt safe. And then we were including who wanted to show their face, who didn't want to show their face. So also their voices came into the visual representation. And all this was, part of that process that made the miracles happen. No, not only actually, also the technically, because we were filming in real hot smoke sauna.
Moist sauna.
Moist, it's crazy. It's like, hey, let's shoot a film. It's really small, dark place, usually some 80 degrees or more temperature, 80 degrees Celsius, and there's a lot of water and no electricity. It's like nightmare. And there were several people, cinematographers, who told me that it's not really possible to shoot in real hot smoke sauna. But again, it comes to like how you find your teammates, how you find those people who support your vision and find solutions. And I really have to congratulate Ans Tammik and Ans found those ways. So in order to capture those miracles that were happening in front of us in smoke sauna, technology had to be there ready. So while heating up the smoke sauna, because you heat smoke sauna before, it has no chimney and you heat it like 6 to 8 hours before. While we put fire into the oven of smoke sauna, we also put inside the smoke sauna on the floor camera and lenses. And the other lenses were outside, because you're like inside smoke sauna, then you go out, you come back. You cannot do it with the same lens. And then after 2 hours, we put this camera and lenses more up. So they adjusted to the heat. Then while filming around the camera, there were ice bags, and not just regular ice bags because they melt. So they had to be like strong plastic. And Ans had wet cloths dripping on head and gloves and, cloth around the body because camera is metallic and burns you. And so we had to be ready technically, emotionally, to capture those miracles. And also important is that everything you hear is happening and is like there in front of camera first time. I hold the space so that that before entering smoke sauna, I was making sure that we don't talk about what we're gonna talk about in smoke sauna. So you enter there and then the smoke sauna miracle starts to happen. and how to be ready there to capture it. And when the camera says, sorry, I need to breathe, and then you don't capture, but the process goes on and then new miracles come.
But as I can see, you were also in the sauna with them all the time.
No, not all the time.
Not all the time, but the TOP was always there on stomach. Or sometimes
Yes, but sometimes there were also moments when I remember rarely where, for example, camera needed to breathe, and the only sound recordist was filming. Was not filming, recording.
Recording.
Because the camera, let's say, needed a break, but the direction was that we don't break the flow of smoke sound.
All right, yeah. But how did the women's get used to the cameraman and to the mic man as well? Was it like a process as well?
It started from this visual, what I was describing before, so we can cut that.
Yeah, yes.
So this challenge, that visually challenge that I had. So finding this, with the safe language, like really taking time with Ants to find the visual language for the film, and then testing it, showing the material based on my body where they felt safe, and then including who wanted to show their face, who didn't want to show their face. And then when we did I remember the first shooting where there was Ants and women, then I later separately asked each of them, how was it?
Okay.
And they felt safe. They totally were like, we felt very safe.
Did someone say that it was weird, or
no?
Everyone?
I think it is because the whole process, it's really like from these small components from the start, that being honest as a director, what you are looking for. And trust, yes, and they ready to be in the film. And that's the thing, because I didn't convince anyone to be in the film. So who were not ready, they were not in the film, and who were ready, they were ready, and their voices were included, like who didn't want to show their face. But there was trust, and they saw the language, and they saw that this visual language is respectful. It's respectful. It's non-sexualizing, and they felt safe. They felt safe while watching the material and also inside the room.
Lovely. The film talks about ritual. How important is ritual in your life?
Very important, I think. Also, I am born into the smoke sauna culture. So in my case, it was my granny from Southeast Estonia who was passing on rituals, passing on the heritage. And it's something very natural to me, It's like, I remember when there is spirits time we have, like in late autumn, we believe it's dead ancestors come to visit us. So I remember, for example, how Granny was putting the table for the food for us, having dinner, and then also including like dead ancestors in the table. And it was something very natural. So the ritual is something that is integrated in my life. And I myself go to smoke sauna regularly. And I actually cannot even imagine my life without it, and it's really about this, creating this kind of safe space where you're really being heard and seen. And it doesn't mean that we have to, pray to the same God or choose the same party. No, we can have different viewpoints, but we are in that kind of safe space where we give respect to each other, give respect to each other's voices, and really hear each other out and really share. And that kind of space I've never experienced anywhere but in smoke sauna. And I wanted to really transform that experience of real smoke sauna into the cinema hall and share it with humanity. Because I believe this kind of safe space belongs not just into small spot in Southeast Estonia, but to to humanity. And now when I'm traveling with this film really all over the world, and there is like such heartwarming responses, and people opening up after the film and sharing their stories, and like it changes them, you know, and it gives them like experience for many, just first time in their lives for this kind of safe space. Then it tells me the deep need and the deep lack of this kind of safe spaces. Yeah.
You said that in one interview you did in Estonia that you had to follow your gut feeling a lot in this film.
Yeah.
That there were many, I don't know, was it producers or who said that there's no faces, no one's going to watch this film. How did you fight with these kind of responses? Because now everyone is watching. You were right.
No, not my producer. My producers, there were two producers.
Yep.
First producer, Eero Talvistu, and then he unfortunately died. And then Marianne Austrat came on board. They both supported me and have been supporting me. But it was when we first asked money for the film. Then, you know, the committee rejected and was doubtful. Many things where they were doubtful and like it didn't make sense. Yeah, like how it will be visual. Who cares about a small story, like very local story? That it will not have any international flights. That was like I remember, and also like who would watch a film without faces, and you know all these things. And yes, one thing that I've learned through the 7 years of making this film is it's interesting because it's a film about voices, giving space to voices, but also learned like the most important as a director is that initial voice inside me. That is like, you know, that kind of light or that kind of pull that I have to follow. And I have actually a story with that. So the concrete idea for the film came from a monastery where I was with my mother. We were doing 26 days of retreat, of silence retreat. Wow. And in that 26 days, I couldn't read, I couldn't write, I couldn't speak, of course. And in that silence, I started to notice voices inside me. That there are these voices inside me, and I started to question, like, okay, who do these voices belong to? Where is my voice? Am I even aware of my voice? And also, I noticed many voices that were silenced, you know, like from generations ago. And this voice became like such important like element. And then the idea came like voice and the smoke sauna space, putting it together. And then I felt so strong that, you know, came the vision for the film and I wanted to write it down, but I couldn't. And then I went to the lady monk to whom you could go to when you had something very important to ask. So I went to her and I was like, please, can I write it down? I have the vision for the film and it's like so strong in me. But I'm afraid that I will lose it. I will lose this idea, and especially when I have like half the way to go in here in the monastery. And she was like, no. Wow. You came here with a determination to be silent 26 days. You cannot write. You know the rules. But if it is important, if it's really important, it will stay with you. And actually, she taught me a really important lesson. And now I'm using it as a method that when there is this kind of initial idea, you know, you feel like some idea is being born, I don't immediately write it down. I keep it and I check after some time, is it still inside me? And in that way, I test that voice inside me. And that voice is that intuition. And I also realized that in the film making, there are those moments where just people around you don't see what you see. And you, at those moments, when there are these voices around you who tell you how to do, you just have to keep that contact with that voice and then find those people who support your voice, for whom it makes sense. And coming back to now 7 years, like we premiered in Sundance 2023, and I won the Best Director award, and then the jury came to me after that, and the head of the jury, and he pointed out several strong things. in that film that he saw, and like, wow, that strong that you made these decisions as a director. And they were really the same points.
Wow.
As in the beginning I got rejection for. And I think it tells something about the process of filmmaking and how, you know, we should always just keep that contact with our voice. And there are challenges.
Yeah.
There are really challenges, but that is like the most precious thing, most precious guide. And how to first get connected with that deep drive, that deep need, that deep voice, and then listen to that. And there is, like in film schools, often they teach certain way of how to make films, and I've also understood there is not one way how to make films. There is not one way to be a film director. We all have to find that our way.
Our word, our
Yes.
voice.
Our voice,
Our
yes.
voice,
Yes, yeah.
You've been very successful, as you just said, Sundance Film Festival, loads of festivals around the globe, actually. What's next? Now it's like, do you have to jump over your own shadow? How can you jump? How do you feel right now about this one?
There is not one day when somebody does not ask. They ask me, like, what is next?
What is next?
What do you do? And if I could just listen to these voices, I would be super stressed, anxious, and possibly come up with something very mediocre, because I would want to please them, or you know, like, follow their expectations. And I think this is very big trap. I feel every time we start a new film, we are like starting in a way from ground zero.
Yep.
And for me, it's so important to have that courage to create, that freedom inside. And for that, when I start the creation process, I work really with my mind not to think about any result. I really don't think about any festival. I think the key for me is to be ready to totally fail. I want to put my mind, and this is what I do, I put my mind ready to totally fail.
Yep.
Because only then I have that creative freedom. And it's not point to make something that you've already done. So it's a journey, and then
I totally agree with you. Absolutely. I have always followed the same path, actually, to allow myself to fail, to be a failure.
Yeah.
And it really have helped me, because the same way you said, you can then be free with your imaginations and the things you want to do. So there's going to be Smoke Sauna Brotherhood. I think, the people want it. I've heard that many guys have started Smoke Sauna Brotherhood groups. I don't know. Yeah,
that is so interesting. When film came out in Estonia, then there was, I got I remember, like 4 emails about proposition to make Smoke Sauna Brotherhood. And also a lot of men were giving feedback that why is it so that they go to sauna or smoke sauna and they avoid intimacy and vulnerability. And how some said that, you know, we talk about the bullshit, not about the real shit. And then I encouraged them to be the first courageous one to open up, to really express how they're feeling. And now I'm so happy that there are this kind of, like, I know at least some brotherhoods, Smoke Sauna brotherhoods that started. There are ideas in my mind connected with the pressure for male gender to be a certain way. And probably it will come into my films also, but not the same way as Smoke Sauna Sisterhood.
So
because it doesn't make sense to make the same thing.
Yeah, absolutely. So talk about the real shit. That is the lesson.
Yes.
So thank you, Anna. Do you have anything you want to say to the audience in the camera behind the screens?
I want to say maybe this, that, you know, there are so many So many challenges that we as humanity are facing. And often when we are outside from smoke sauna or outside from our safe space, we might feel that there is not possible to come together as humans. But for me, the experience of making that film and also traveling with that film and all the feedback that I get and the real powerful experiences that I have with the audience, they give me a lot of hope. Hope that we can connect as humans on heart level with each other, so that there is that humanhood, and that humanhood, we can be in that humanhood very different. We are very different. We don't need to pray to the same God. We don't need to vote for the same party. We can have totally opposite opinions, but still we can respect each other's voices and really hear each other out and be connected through that humanity. So I hope and to encourage with that film to create this kind of safe spaces and where we can be heard and seen. And much love to all of you.
Thank you. Much love to you as well.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us. Please rate your favorite at luxaward.eu. And if you haven't seen the film, you can find the screenings on the same page. So visit luxaward.eu. Until next time, and please, let's respect others.